Good morning and happy Friday, everybody. Thanks everyone for being here today. This is Friday, July 10th, 2026. So we are here for the Colorado Forest Health Council Legislative Committee, and I welcome you all to this meeting. I'm calling this meeting to order. I'm Chair Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shad McNally, and Courtney, do you mind doing roll call and we can just kind of work through it?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Samantha Albert, not here yet. Pat Dorsey.
Yes. Good morning.
Pat. Christina Berry.
Morning. Nice to see you all.
Morning, Christina. Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally.
Present.
Morning, Commissioner. Mark Morgan is not yet here. Julie Stensel.
Present. Good morning.
Morning, Julie. Commissioner Veronica Medina. Not yet here. And Allison Lynch.
I'm present. Good morning.
Morning. So we do have quorum this morning.
Yay. Hope everyone's doing well. And let's go ahead and move on to our next item, which would be approval of the May 29th minutes, right? We just have one set to approve.
Yes.
Okay, so anybody have any discussions or any questions, additions, corrections? Okay, I welcome a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move. I'll second.
Great. All those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Awesome. Anybody opposed? Great. All right, let's move on. Now we're looking at our next item, which would be just kind of talking. Sorry, I'm going to pull this up again. Sorry, I've got a new computer. They gave it me this week, and I'm still trying to figure out how it goes. So it's the same thing, but it's just got some new things on it that just look a little different. So anyway, so the next item, could you just tell me, Courtney, because I'm just trying to pull, oh, there it is. Thank you.
Yes.
Appreciate that. So now we have an update from OEdit. Oh, thanks for adding that on the resource for timber industry, but I'm not so sure. Is she's not here yet, correct?
Correct. Samantha did reach out to me about this, and I asked her to update the group today. I'm happy to give a brief update, and if she does join, then she can give more information if that works.
That works great.
Okay. Samantha let me know that as she was talking with members on her team about this resource that she had offered to put together for the timber and forestry industry, she was told that I think that they were going to be changing some of their programs and maybe changing some of their funding opportunities. And so she wants to wait until all of those things are solidified. The original goal had been that these would be available at the August meeting to present to the council. And Samantha let me know it would no longer be available by the August meeting, but she was hopeful it could be available by the next meeting in November.
Okay. That's great. So it's not a no, it's just kind of a pause to figure out what's happening. Okay. Great. And then I see that we have an updated avenue of legislative influence, the post-interim committees. Is shooting that's you or Allison?
Yes. I might pass this to Allison, but this came up after the discussion of like, well, we created these wonderful recommendations and we no longer have an interim committee to present them to. So we did meet with Dan and with Sarah Hamming, our new Director of Legislative Affairs, to talk about like how might we get these recommendations forward. And Ali, do you want to share our new strategy?
Yeah, absolutely. And Courtney, just fill in if I forget something, please. So, obviously we're not the only council or commission that's has a charge to present or to share with Wildfire Matters Interim Review Committee. So we're working on strategies to make sure that our recommendations, as well as anything else that we want to share, can get out there. So one strategy is to that we may have meetings, one-on-one meetings with legislators this summer and definitely before September, because by September, we might be expected that many legislators might have some of their top bills already identified. So that's something that Courtney, myself, and Sarah can work on and get scheduled. And we're still figuring out who would be at those meetings, but we might have Dan there at the meetings, and then potentially members of the council as well. So that's one strategy. We can also share our recommendations, excuse me, with Senate and House Ag committees, which do meet during the legislative session. So we've got the members of those committees, although we know that there is going to be some transition with upcoming elections as well, but we can share all of that. Last I had, and Courtney, please, I have one more, and then let me know if I'm missing something from our original conversation with Sarah, but I had an additional working meeting yesterday to talk about how House Bill 1184, which was our bill, the Sunset Forest Health Council bill, removed the 2 legislators from the council, but then added 2 new members. And we would like to coordinate with the legislators that were on the council. So that's Representative Sukla and Senator Cutter. And so some direct outreach specifically to both of them as well, since Senator Cutter is going to be, she's done at the end of this year, but Representative Sukla will be continuing on. So that's not just for recommendations, but in addition to recommendations, also just keeping that connection there, since they were members of this council. And we believe due to, the budget and financial reasons, which is why why legislative members were removed, not necessarily for any other reason. So those are at least 3 strategies to be able to get out there right now. And then one other thing that we don't know for sure yet, but we also identified that in the House Bill 1184, we think it's just a mistake that it says that the council is 25 members, although it really actually still is 26. So we are going to work, we're going to try and work within the time period between now and session to just modify that language to ensure that it actually correctly states how many people we have on the council as well. And there could be other opportunities in that for discussion as to sort of why the legislators were removed and whether or not there's any other opportunity to bring other people back in the future. That's from top of mind. Courtney, what did I miss?
Sounds right to me, Allison.
Allison, can you go back and talk about what you talked with Dan about you and Courtney? I want to make sure I heard this correctly, and I don't think I did. About that you all will be reaching out to advocate or to get legislators. Can you kind of share that first strategy again?
Courtney, help me with this because I thought this, we haven't decided definitely of what it was, but why don't you explain it differently, Courtney?
Yes. So in the meeting, we just kind of asked the question, how do we reach legislators without the committee presentations? And Sarah said that it's not uncommon for at least like different division directors to meet with key legislators to share policy recommendations. So she was thinking the council could operate in a similar way where the recommendations could be presented directly to legislators and there could be more of a conversation rather than a presentation that reaches, 15 legislators at one time, since that forum is not available at the time. She didn't have a list of legislators off the top of her head, but I I know that she has relationships with many people, but I definitely think, the people on this committee also have relationships and would know which legislators have, an interest in working in the forest health and wildfire space.
Great.
And just to add to that, Commissioner, the idea of who is at that who would be at that meetings is still in conversation, I guess. So we need to sort of follow up on, we've had one conversation with Sarah and Dan, and then, Courtney, I have to think about open meetings law too, right? And so we really can't have two council members at a meeting. Is that correct? Or does this not count?
I think that applies if they're discussing the business of the council, but I wonder if we were presenting something that the council had approved. I can get more information on.
I believe that as long as we're not making a decision or trying to discuss making a decision and you're just presenting information as education, that I think it'll be fine. The reason I asked, and then Pat, I do see your hand up, is I've already been talking to folks like, hey, do you have your 5 bills? What's going on? What are you thinking? So I don't want to make sure I didn't misstep, but I mean, just 2 nights ago, I had 6 different legislators at an event up here in my district that were all, and 75% of them were from outside of my county. And I talked to the head of the firefighters union and said, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing with my county stuff. And so tell me if you have room, right? And so, and there is some folks who haven't nailed down a lot of their bills because they're now meeting with the folks who are running for governor and trying to get a feel for what they will be supportive. So it's a little different. And so I think this is an opportunity to still get some of this in because there is the whole system's in flux. So before, and I see your hand there, Pat. So before I do that, more of that, was that okay, or did I misstep? Talking with just folks, because I'm just sharing what we approved.
I think
I don't think you misstepped.
Okay.
me neither. I mean,
They're approved. We at our last full council meeting, we approved our recommendations. They're live, right? You're the single human on the council that can talk about, like you said, we're not making decisions. And I think you're just maybe one step ahead, right? Is that we know that this type of work has to get done this summer. It's already midsummer, so we got to crank on it.
And I think if we get out the door soon and get our bills introduced soon instead of late, we have a much better successful chance. And so I wanted to also bounce but I'll hold that because I want to get to Pat's question because I did want to talk about the resolution one because I think it would be really important who we choose for that, to introduce them both and get that done at the beginning. So one of the first conversations is about forest health. So yeah, go ahead. Pat, sorry,
Yeah.
Ben. Go ahead.
No, not at all. I just was wondering, is there an opportunity? It would probably be pretty difficult to organize in the summer, but an opportunity to do a virtual briefing or something of that nature where staffers and everyone would be invited, right? It would just strictly be informational. I don't know how well attended it would be. I just like the openness of it. Like we weren't selecting people, right? You had the opportunity to hear it. That said, you guys are a lot more savvy around the Capitol than I am. So
I think that's something we can bring back to Sarah and see if that would be a possibility as well. I mean, I think that's a great idea, Pat. And also with capacity, and I mean, we could all go one-on-one too. And then in addition, make sure we have our voices heard in other ways.
yeah, I agree. I don't think it would be an either or. I think it would be an and, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I think there are some newer ones that will like be in a group setting and say, hey, I want to do that. But there's some that are more seasoned who would be very quiet and you'd have to approach one-on-one, right? So, so maybe also you can ask Dan or Sarah, because I was going to ask the president of the Senate to run to see if he would run the resolution. And I know there's a little battle for Speaker of the House, so I was looking to maybe get more of a the president's Senator Dylan Roberts, who's been a big friend of Forrest, and have them both introduce it in the Senate side, and then have some, I'm looking at the ones, I'm not looking to have one maybe from my county, but maybe from a different county. And so I have some connections there to make it really kind of a county or statewide kind of effort and maybe get those to do. And I think when I did kind of talk about this, there were some folks who were very interested in running that one to do it because they thought that was a really slam dunk for the beginning of the year. So could you ask if there's just one that Dan feels preference to, you know what I'm saying? Because it's almost like someone we want to, like you said, really align with Forest Health stuff. So.
Yeah, we can ask Dan. I can put it in his weekend memo.
Okay, thanks. Anything else? And welcome, Commissioner Medina.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope you had a good June and 4th of July weekend. So thanks for that update. So should we just kind of add this back into the next meeting too, that we kind of come back and talk about this some more, and maybe talk about this idea of having invite legislators who might be interested to come listen. So, and now would be the time with the smoke advisory from the governor over the last couple of days when issuing, and then all the other things happening. It might be where folks really want to maybe ask questions and listen a little bit more. I know they're looking at, I heard rumors that they might be trying to form watershed caucuses in the assembly. And that's new. So I don't know if you heard that.
No, Christina, have you heard that?
No, that's interesting though. I'm curious how that would interface with the Basin Roundtables.
I don't know. I mean, I just had one, I said, hey, and this was me talking about something I'm trying to do for Lamar County. And I reached out to some folks that said, hey, I need your help. And they said, well, that's interesting because we're talking about forming such and such watershed caucus and such watershed caucus. And I was like, oh, that's an interesting idea. So,
Yeah.
So,
No, I heard that. Thank you for sharing.
yeah, that was just in the last 3 days. So, they're kind of back from their June break and now they're starting to pop up a little bit more. And like I said, I ran into a whole bunch up here along with Congressman Neguse. Pat.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a question that shows my naivete, I think, as much as anything. But in the absence of the interim committees, and there are a bunch of caucuses, are caucuses just an informal group of legislators, whereas an interim committee is more formalized? What is the role of those caucuses and how are they formed? Because I've heard about a number of caucuses that might also be good to pitch some of the wildfire stuff too, or excuse me,
Right.
forest stuff.
And I think it depends on which caucus. There's the Black Caucus. There's now I think a Latin caucus or something. Then there's a LGBTQIA plus caucus. There's the Democratic caucus. There's the Republican caucus. I know they meet informally, but they also still talk about aligning on certain issues. So since the water is becoming a bigger issue, bigger, it's already been big, but I think they're starting to think regionally, but also still that regional impact of the watershed. I don't know. This was new on me. The conversation I followed up on, we both stuck it in where we could stick in a 15-minute conversation, and we're going to talk more over the weekend when I get back from camping for a day. So I think I hadn't heard of this before, so it's certainly I have questions too. So I don't know, what do you think, Allison? I mean, it's usually they're a little bit more informal when they're kind of just pulling together.
My internet's going a little bad. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm going to turn my camera off. It's been a week of bad internet. I'm not as familiar with these, with all of the caucuses and what's going on, to be honest, Commissioner.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
but I'll dive a little deeper now that
yeah,
you know
it
that
is.
this is a possibility.
I think it is kind of a political alignment or an issue alignment. Sometimes it just depends. There's political alignments and then there's issue alignments, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't think this is new, and I don't think it's formally formed informally or anything right now. It's just they said they're starting to talk about forming. So
Okay.
I don't know what that means, and if that's going to have, water basins or watersheds. I don't know. I mean, this was really news for me too. So, all right. Courtney and Allison, is there anything else that you wanted to add to those agenda items?
Nothing else. Thanks, Commissioner.
Great. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next item, which I believe is kind of our interim work. But are we talking about the structure first? I can't remember which one was first. Sorry, I'm sorry, because I think I don't, was the agenda attached to the email with the, because I just had the minutes.
I can double check, and I can also resend it. But yeah, I can share my screen real quick. Right now we have discussion of ledge committee dates, times, and structure, and then the discussion of the letter, the U.S. Forest Service letter, and then discussion of input from the homework.
Yeah. So we want to talk, the poll went out, and I know you, probably not everyone had a chance to fill it out yet, but did you have some folks fill it out, and do we have any preferences already, or if people haven't, we encourage them to do that. I know it has been requested we move off of Fridays, but I don't want to lose our cadence and our we've been so good about being such a full quorum and group for so long. So is everyone on this call had a chance to fill out the survey?
I do have responses from Pat, Christina, Julie, Allison, you, and then both commissioners. I think I still need replies from. There was one unnamed entry, so I'm not sure who that was. I can always add a name if you know you filled one out.
So what does it look like so far, since it sounds like everyone's on this call?
Yeah, it's looking like the first and third Thursday at 8 works for people. I know that's an early meeting. That is the time that works best for the most people. And then we have some other dates that don't work for everyone, but that work for the majority of folks. But I know we're trying to find a time that works for everyone. So right now it's the first and third Thursday at 8 in the morning.
Okay, so if we would meet again on the 24th, would we start to try to do this in August then?
I think that's up to this group. Yes, if we wanted to start in August, that would be.
Would that be a fair thing? I mean, we didn't put an action on it, but I guess we can discuss it. And we could, because it is an agenda item, but we didn't put a vote or an action. But what does everyone think about was it 7 out of 7, or was it 100% for that time, or what does that look like?
It was 4 out of 5, and I don't know. I'd have to go back and see who wasn't free, and I could reach out to them directly. There is this also unnamed person. Also, Pat, I have 2 from you. So I kind of want to look through the entries a little bit more.
Okay. So-
Pat, should I take your more recent? I know you
Go
submitted
ahead.
twice. I'll take your more recent entry.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
So-
I'm an overachiever, Courtney.
I appreciate that. You're making up for all the people who didn't fill it out.
So what does everyone think? Are we going to, when do you want to try to start this in August? And Courtney, did you want to, does everyone have the date of the August meeting coming up for the full council?
I would like to at least reach out directly to the people who did not reply to the survey and find out if that time works for them before we vote on it. Like I want to make sure everyone feels like they've had a chance to. I have sent the survey out twice, but I feel like it could be nice for me to call or email people.
Yeah, but my question is, did we want to try to start to do this in August? Not to pick a date, just try to start in August or wait till September?
I think August sounds good. One of the reasons this Fridays are hard for me is because often I do field work on Fridays. And like today, I'm going to leave late to get into the field because of the meeting. So if we could switch it to another day of the week, it would be easier for me
Okay,
to balance my two roles. So if we wanted to start in August, that would work well for me.
okay. So we can still plan on the 24th. So, so that's the question. Does anyone have any reservations about starting in August if we can find a group, at least 95% of the people? I mean, everyone okay with that? Okay. Yay. All right. Anyone have a concern? Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, my only concern or caveat with the Thursday is that if, we occasionally have meetings we like to take out to an hour and a half, those long meetings, and I don't have that flexibility on Thursday. So we'd have to keep it to an hour or start a little early.
And I think that might be the case, and we can really be thoughtful of that. But I think that's a great point, because I do know that it still was tight for me to do it on Fridays, but we'll need to make sure we understand that Thursdays might reduce the ability to go over. So, but I know that was hard for some folks on the other day too. So great. Okay, let's move on and on to the next item, which would be the letter. And so I'll be honest with you, I have not had a chance to talk with Commissioner Medina. I actually was at Harvard Kennedy School of Government for local executives for 3.5 weeks. So I was in Cambridge during the World Cup and graduation and all those things. And so I got to experience the Tartan Army in full force, evading my hotel, etc. And I went through an outward bound experience. I climbed 55 feet on a rope and I did overcome my fear heights that day. And I was on looking at their forest and on some islands, outer islands off the coast. And we did talk about forest and natural disasters and responses and all kinds of things. So 14-hour days, 8-9 hours of a lecture, homework every night. Study group started at 7:30 in the morning, which is 5:30 your time. And yeah, it was good. But so I didn't have much time. And then we had one of my commissioners, my last few days of the last week, which was supposed to be really focused, but I had a commissioner lose a child right before I graduated. And then we had 2 deputies killed along with their loved ones. We had 4 funerals last week, back to back, 2 days in a row. So I've been a little, I've had a lot going on, and I'm not whining, but I just wanted to say I didn't mean to ignore that. So, but it's just been, we had 1,700 at the deputy's funeral, so we had to take it out at our ranch complex. It was pretty intense. So, and then my colleague is, of course, extremely grieving the loss. So I was just wondering, Commissioner Medina, did you get to do any work on it yourself as well?
So thank you, and I'm so sorry about all the loss that you've had in Larimore County. And congratulations on the schooling part. Like I said last time, I mean, I really, maybe it can be done differently, but originally when I brought it up, it was really about the timing of when everything was being discussed on how it was being restructured. And, you know, how we didn't want to lose certain people, you know, especially in the rural areas. I feel like where we are today, we are way past what my original thought is. So I don't have any thoughts on kind of really reconstructing that letter. The more I speak to others, and Mark Morgan is definitely one that's been in my ear about some of it. I don't know. I don't feel like I want to go forward with the letter just because, again, it was supposed to be timely. I really wanted to do it when this originally, before it was even announced, to kind of give our input of, you know, what our thoughts were. So I'm fine if we don't move forward with the letter, unless of course, you know, there's a different way that you want to, or somebody else wants to structure it. But I think what's done is done at this point.
Okay, I appreciate that. And I know sometimes it's hard for us to move quickly with this or with a larger kind of statewide organization. There's a lot going on. I just sent submitted for our county OMB letter for guidance as we are all concerned about that. And I'm wondering, Courtney and Allison, maybe we should see if there's new conditions that we need to look at federally. I know Congresswoman Pedersen and Congressman Neguse are introducing a whole slew of very forest health, wildfire mitigation, viral focused. I'm wondering if that's something we need to look at to support, look at, make comments on. I'm just wondering, because it sounds like those are dropping and maybe very impactful for us. And so I'm wondering if that's something we could bring, look at, maybe bring to us in the 24th. I know you're all really busy, but and see if that's something we want the full council to endorse or support, since we have added that level of engagement now. I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I would say once those bills drop, we should bring them to either this group or to the full council. I don't know who we would probably meet first. Right. Yeah, we would definitely meet before the full council meets. And that would be a good cadence, since our next full council meeting is August 26th. Right. So that might give us about a month to ponder and work through our systems on how we could support, neutral, or not support. I'm not saying like what we, you know, whatever way we would take on all of these bills. And so, yeah, I think we can bring those forward here. And possibly by our next Forest Health Council, for our next ledge meeting, Commissioner, they should be dropped by then.
I've had a couple of meetings with Congressman Neguse this week, and I know some other people are very aware of what they are. So I'm thinking that they would be something we might want to be supportive of. So great. So we'll put that on the agenda for next time too. Okay, let's move on then. And Commissioner Medina, thank you for your voice and advocating and trying to push that letter forward. I think we certainly were aligned with you with the urgency and the concerns. And I hope you will continue to bring your voice, because you know we're all in this together, and you're part of the state, and your county are very important. So I hope that you'll keep bringing that information, those things forward, because I do think what you learned and your what you wanted to do was really important. And I hope you felt we weren't trying to delay it. It was just trying to get it rolled. So thank you for your leadership and your work there. So, and thank you all. But I wanted to make sure you know we were really wanting to support that. So on to the next item then was the discussion. And anyone have any other, I mean, everyone's been quiet. She wants to maybe withdraw, and I had the idea of bringing the other bills. Does anyone have any concerns about that first before we move on? Okay, so the last one was the discussion of input from homework for the Ledge Committee. And so we had homework about maybe looking at some, getting some subcommittees looking in the internship, and I think that might be a bigger discussion that we bring back to the full council about how we can kind of flesh out some of these topics with maybe having some subgroups work on some ideas and bring it to the Ledge Committee. And so I don't know if anyone thought about, we really have a system that's worked really well. We've had some pretty robust conversations and seem to reach a very consistent, full, united consensus, which is very rare in most of my committees. And so I'm just curious, did anyone have any thoughts or think about that for some of their homework? Because I think that was part of the homework, was think about how we do these with the lack of the interim committee and trying to maybe dive deeper in and things. Did anyone have any thoughts on that? Julie?
Thank you, Commissioner. I guess the one thought I had was maybe not earth-shattering in the sense that I think it was pretty unanimous last meeting. I think this committee works really well, and maybe there's a subcommittee. Noodling was perhaps when this group is going to have speakers, is going to have that extra information that could then lead to the need for a targeted subgroup to take the deeper dive. Maybe we sort of proactively communicate that out to the full council better. I think everyone knows we have this meeting. I'm sure most don't think about it and they're probably not checking in on our agenda, but when we're going to have a speaker or do something, just make sure we communicate it out to the full council. Those who go, oh, that topic, that's something I really want to engage in. As they start to learn more, then perhaps we can find 2 or 3 worker bees who go, we're going to take the deep dive. We're going to get into the details of that. And then we're going to come back to the legislative committee and say, here's what we're hearing. Here's what we think would be helpful. How do we craft something in the legislative realm that we could take to the full council? That was how I was thinking. Maybe we could engage more people without necessarily changing our structure.
Jody,
I think that was a great thought. Julie, and what you said kind of resonated with me when we were having a special guest speaker on a special topic, because we usually get those set up at least over a week or 2 ahead of time, that we could send out that agenda and let everyone on the full council know that that speaker is coming, and to invite them to come and listen. And then if they want to be a part of that, they can, with that little subgroup. I think that's a great idea, because you're right, everyone knows the meeting when we're meeting, but we might change it. But they might like, oh, I didn't know that. I really want to hear that person talk. So they can always go back and watch the videos too, because Courtney Number does a really good job on the website. So there's like a double dip there. But maybe we just need to remind everyone that we hope you'll come. I mean, I kind of say that when I do the report. We hope you come. Everyone's welcome. But I think that's a great point. So Christina, your hand's up.
Yeah, thank you. Julie, I really like that idea. I think what I was balancing too is like for Courtney and staff time on like yet another group to coordinate. And I think that I like that suggestion, and that it's inclusive for folks who want to talk about a specific topic, but it doesn't add like yet another group or thing. So and just thinking that through, I was like, yeah, that makes sense too. And how we've seen some of the transportation stuff that we've engaged in, like we had kind of an expanded meeting, or I think like with watersheds, we invited a bunch of folks and we were able to kind of dive in and also be inclusive of those who wanted to talk about that topic and focus on it and make progress that way without adding another group. So I like that, and just wanted to, just recognize that was a great idea. So thanks.
Thank you, Christina. Pat?
Yeah, and I guess I'm in the same camp. I think standing subgroups in particular would be a tremendous amount of work if there's a topic of real interest or there's a work group kind of subject. I think that's more appropriate rather than something that we just, sometimes groups get started and they never end, right? Even when the work is done. So
Yeah. Okay. So we have so I appreciate that. So we have a topic with a couple things. We had, the resolution, and I wasn't trying to get ahead of it, but I started already thinking, just dropping some seeds to get people interested in maybe the resolution I said, hey, we have a tie between transportation and forest health. And people are like, oh, really? Tell me more about that. And I said, did you see our recommendations? And here they are. And so that subgroup, I'm wondering if we need to pull that, was it the motor carriers group back in? I'm assuming they know that we made this a priority. Maybe they don't. And maybe we should have that on their next agenda to have them come back, and also invite the timber industry and the motor carriers group about that, and then have them, right, here's the recommendation. Let's, talk about what needs, what we think in there. But I also think we should have someone from counties on there about county roads. Because I think we want to invite folks who might have opposition or have concerns to the meeting and get ahead of that. So what do you all think about that? And then people can come, and then in the U.S. Forest Service, wherever, and just have, here's a recommendation. What can we do together and bring this to go forward? Christina.
Thank you. From what I remember from the last meeting, I think Mark Morgan was saying that a lot of the problem could be solved with at the national forest level. I think that's a lot of the barrier, is like that the forest supervisor, the district ranger, I think has the authority to increase those load limits on the forest system roads. And that would actually, I think, solve a lot of the issue. Do you guys do you all remember that? Okay. So I think one thing, the reason I bring that up, Commissioner, is I don't know, without talking to Mark, I don't know that going beyond the national, like making this bigger on state highways and county road, like that may not be necessary, depending on if the problem really is at the national forest level. Then it may be an easier problem to solve. That's what I remember from the last conversation. I could be totally wrong though, in my recollection.
A great point. Thanks for bringing that up. And I think I do remember that there might have been a lower hanging fruit, and maybe we need to engage Mark again. And Commissioner Medina, I know you came off your camera. What is your recollection on that? No, you're just listening? Okay. So, Courtney and Allison, I'm going to just say, I know you were all busy, but would that be something, since we're just asking for information, I could call Mark, and I know we're not supposed to even discuss business, but this is just to get the information with that. I think that should be copacetic with the laws, right?
Yeah, I think as long as you're not, I think it's like discussing council business. If you're just gathering information to share out, I think that's okay.
So I will take that on, if that's okay for everybody, to bring that back for the next meeting and get that spelled out, so we have a little more like something to react to, and get kind of what he thought, and then key stakeholders. It's one of those things I kind of did this internally, and kind of some things I did intuitively that I learned at Harvard, but and then like, oh, validating, that's how I think, but that's great. But now I have like a structure, like they gave you a template. So I'm like, oh, I can plug this in, and then we know who we need to have there. So, which is kind of what I always did anyway, but just kind of in the back of my head. So I'll do that, and then we'll have that for the next meeting. Does that sound like a plan for everybody? Because I think it's easier to do the low hanging fruit And Courtney, did you hear from him at all?
He did reply to the survey, so I did hear from them in that way.
Okay, so we know he's around. Great.
Yes,
Awesome.
he's around.
And Thursdays don't work for him, or did work for him, or you don't know yet? You're going to figure that out. I just want to
Thursday
make sure.
morning did work for him. Yes.
Okay, cool. Other homework. Anybody else do any other reading or looking at things? Other me reading on the plane, trying to do some reading on some forest things. Interesting articles coming out and looking at. I find it interesting that a lot of I had been at the National Western Conference and looking at the Lahaina fire and hearing them and in other forests and even in Massachusetts talking about drought and invasive beetles and tree not thriving, even in Lahaina and Massachusetts, and hearing folks from around the world. We had people from Ireland and New Zealand, Australia, Tasmania, and Canada, and there was just a common thread there. So I did start looking at some of their challenges and some of the things, and it was very fascinating to hear that there is a kind of everyone's forests are not doing well, I guess. And knowing that there are invasive beetles and species and trees, pretty much everyone I talked to, it was very fascinating to have something to talk like that about. So, but and then even with the California folks, and hearing from some of those folks after some of that forest fires and stuff, I just want to say it's interesting. So I did some homework that way, just looking to see if anyone else had some kind of new approach or ideas. So Pat, your hand's raised, and then Allison.
Yeah, and Allison, I don't know if you want to follow Commissioner Shattuck McNally. Okay. So the other thing that I came across the other day is the U.S. Forest Service has a new technical report out, I think, or a new environmental assessment on fire recovery, and it's got some categorical exclusions and things like that to jump into fire recovery quicker and faster, like getting rid of hazard trees so you can reopen roads and that kind of thing. And it just sparked my mind when you said the Lahaina fire, and I'm thinking about, we've got the Aspen Acres fire, the Ferris fire, all of these going, and Gold Mountain fire in Colorado, including the one up at Leadville, which we hope that one stays small-ish. But I can share that, Courtney, maybe with you. If I can find the link, I'll post it in the chat, but otherwise I'll just send it to you, Courtney, and you can share it with folks. It's like 190 pages or something like that. So it's a fairly extensive document, but it may be helpful in the upcoming months.
And I think that's a great point. We're all watching the fires and they're really focused on suppression, but also the conversations I had with ROM and some of the ones, the book that we're focused on, this gal worked in the Obama administration with Homeland Security and some of the emergency response. And I was talking with our OEM director because we had a town hall like the first day I got back. And we're all thinking, okay, I hope they're already planning for post-fire flooding because, that's less than a year away for them. And so those kinds of things. Allison, what did you have to add on kind of stuff you were learning?
I just wanted to do just a really brief update about the Mountain Pine Beetle Task Force and our last field trip, because I think you all know that Mountain Pine Beetle Task Force is diving in. We're finally really got our working groups settled. So we have 7 working groups. I can't name them right off the top of my head, but I'll put them in the chat. These working groups are going to meet every month, starting this month for 3 months, to start diving in on the resources we have, the gaps, things like that. We're talking about everything from watersheds, wildfire risk, insurance, timber industry, all of this. We're also trying not to recreate any wheels. So there's some overlap on the task force with people from Fire Commission and this council and others. And so we're really trying to get to those deeper conversations and places that we know need a lot of effort. But one thing I wanted to share about that is we had a field trip, and Andrew Slack with CFRI, Colorado Forest Restoration Initiative, and many others did a field presentation. We learned about bark beetles. I love that. But then we talked about the difference of treatments that we can do across the state. A lot of times, I believe people are honing in on wildfire risk reduction as our main focus. But we learned a lot about ecological resilience and how to treat different forest areas differently, depending on the biodiversity that might exist in those forests or the values at risk and things like that. And so I just wanted to share that I really expect we're going to have some pretty good, more good discussions and recommendations statewide. From the Mountain Pine Beetle Task Force. Even though in the executive order it says Front Range, the task force has agreed that this is a statewide conversation. And so I am hoping that in September, after we have these 3 meetings, that we will have, I'm looking at you, Christina, because it's going to be you and I making the recommendations and putting them into taking the recommendations and putting them into the buckets that they might live in. Is this a legislative recommendation? Is this a local government recommend? We don't know yet, right? But we're at that tipping point of getting that information. So September, I know, is a little late, and so that's what's hard. Commissioner, is we know people are legislators are already putting their their bills forward, but we will continue to update, and I know you're on there too, and a few of us, to make sure that what's coming out of the task force resonates or could add to what's going on with the council as well.
Fantastic. Thanks for reminding me. I was at Harvard at that time, but I did join him for part of the meeting, and I had it in my ear, and we were working on a group project, and I had said, I forgot I put in a comment, or can you guys hear? I can't hear you or whatever. But someone call my name out, and they said, oh, and I said, you guys all said we're saying good things about you. And I'm like, and I kind of unplugged and said, I believe that or something. And so I was in my group thing, and so the whole room was like, what? And so, but it was, the timing was perfect for that, but also for what they were asking questions. And so they all thought I was making a joke, but then I realized I was talking on the computer. So, but they were patient with me because they knew that I really didn't want to miss that meeting, but I was pushing the limits there because I was trying to at least listen into the small group and things. So I think that's, I really wanted to do that field trip. I might go down and see if Commissioner Williams and I are friends. So I know that I can just go down and hang out with him, and he'll take me on a field trip. So I think, which I think will be fair because we won't talk business, but he can just kind of take me around his properties and stuff. But I think that's a really important thing, and thanks for reminding us of that. That's placeholder we have in the recommendations. So I think you're right. When we think about recommendations, I do think it might be unique and site specific because every part of the state is different and has different biodiversity, and one size does not fit all. And that's another thing, just like with counties, you met one county, and I really believe that with the forest as well in areas. So, and so I think that's a great point. So, and it sounds like a great presentation. Maybe we can send out the link to the group again if they are interested in listening to that presentation, because they are recorded. It might be a good thing too. I don't know if it's up yet. Or was that just the one? Was that just the one that was on the field trip? It wasn't the one
that was just a field trip, but I do have a handout from Andrew, so we could send that to the group.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm sad I missed the handout, so I would love to have one too. So, okay, all right. Great. Any other homework? Anybody else? We just got a couple of minutes left. Okay, so next meeting, I'll have talked to Mr. Morgan, and we'll have some, and we also talked about kind of the structure of talking to legislators, and you'll bring back some things on the federal stuff for the next meeting. And so our next meeting will be the 24th, and we'll see if we can get a few more people to fill out the survey one more time. So any other questions for the group or burning issues or questions? Okay, good discussion since we're all kind of trying to get back in the cadence again. I appreciate everyone being here today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I'm really keeping all the firefighters and first responders in our thoughts and prayers. And I just know it's just we knew this was coming, and just hoping that everyone's safe and we all get through this. So thank you all. I'll take a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
I'll second.
All right. Anybody opposed to that motion? All right. We're adjourned at 9:27. You all have a wonderful, beautiful, glorious weekend. I really appreciate every single one of you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Happy Friday.
Happy
Thanks.
Friday, everyone.
Bye.
Happy Friday.
Bye.